All right, dearly beloved. I sent out an email yesterday that got a really nice response around licensing. So I thought I would just dig into some licensing and just add this to everybody's roadmap as a part of how you're going to make revenue in the future, starting now. So Magic Kids, this has been one of the key focuses for me because we're building this massive audio library that we own the rights to, music, meditations, audio stories, etc. And so it's one thing to have all those audio assets living on our app, which is wonderful. But there's some huge, huge players in the audio space, whether it's meditations, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's kids audio. Every single industry has platforms that are much, much larger than any of the platforms that any of us have. And so if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. And that is the beautiful thing about licensing. And so with Magic Kids, we have 45 licensing partners. Now, last year, just one of those licensing partners generated $75,000, and we've signed 45 new ones. Now, those all start generating revenue next year. My audio meditation library, I know I've said this lots of times as I've told the stories, but it's generated over $500,000, and I haven't had to lift a finger from that. Just made the audio library. It took me 2 years to make the library, but it's been generating revenue every single year since we started licensing. So with the whole licensing thing, it's we work so hard to build our assets, to create the things that we make. And then we wait for people to, we do this big launch. And then typically after the launch, a lot of these assets just sit on the shelf and they're not necessarily generative for us. They're not collecting money. Maybe once in a while we do a Black Friday special or something like that. But when it comes to licensing, you license your assets to platforms non-exclusively, meaning you can license the same stuff across many platforms, and it builds you revenue and an audience forever. And so this is all about leverage. It's all about, decreasing the need to hustle and increasing the leverageability of what you're creating. And so there's certain things that you want to do, if you're going to start today. So one, you need to have a basic setup of like professional recording gear. So you need a good microphone, you need some basic soundproofing. There's articles inside of the Magic Mind and on my Substack that is about how to set up your home recording studio. You can do it for less than $1,000, especially if you're buying the gear used. Um, you probably, if you live in a bigger city, you probably have podcasting spaces. You might even have public libraries that have audio recording spaces that you can rent for free, so you don't even have to buy the gear right now. Um, and then once you get that set up, it's just a discipline. It's booking in once a week to write, to record, to edit, and then you have a new asset. To record a 10-minute meditation or a 20-minute meditation doesn't take a lot of time to write and record, and then you have an asset. And then you can start, once you have a handful, like literally 3 to 5 fully completed meditations or audio tracks that you're really excited about, you can then start to do all of the outreach and research of like, connecting with people. Once you get your foot in the door, they want you to be making more stuff regularly, which I haven't done with my audio library. I've kind of like, I stepped back from that whole life that I was living for several years of teaching, and now I just have that doing its thing. But with Magic Kids, we're creating new stuff every single month. And all of those assets, now we have 45 channels instead of just our app where those assets are living. All of those locations are now building us an audience and building us revenue at the same time. And so, as you commit to building an audio library, and it can even be online courses, if you did a really professional quality online course, you could license that to governing bodies of larger organizations. You could look up other platforms that have large course libraries and you could license to those. And all of a sudden, you have multiple streams of income that are coming in from that one asset. It's all about leverage. And so, you need to just like, if licensing is something you want to put on the roadmap, it just requires you booking the writing, recording, editing, outreach time. Those are the four main things that you have to do with the licensing model. Um, the The research is really easy. Once you know what lane you're in or what your niche audience for apps and platforms are, it's pretty darn easy to research nowadays. And then your job is just to make it as easy for your licensing partners as possible. So having everything neatly organized in the proper folders with the spreadsheets with the name and the title and the description and a file, album cover, typically square. Usually the platforms don't want to have a human being on it because then it feels like if you have some one type of human, then it eliminates all the other types of humans. So just like very basic album covers for most of them. Um, and the outreach is, important. I have a bunch of templates that I've used that seem to get people's attention and at least spark a conversation and get them to check out our samples. I mean, right now we've got several huge licensing conversations for Magic Kids, one of which with Yodo, which the research that I've done, I mean, that can add 250 to $500,000 a year of extra revenue for the company when you get into some of these bigger platforms that are going to start to push your work out there. Um, and it's just like the more platforms you get yourself on, the better. And, uh, this could be something for a hot seat or something for a coaching session. Everybody's like really serious about this, but uh, there's so much opportunity to license your life's work. It's the most leverageable way to like take everything you've created and find new channels and new streams for you to be able to just put it out to way more people. And so I know this is a hot topic for some of you. For those of you that you're not actively creating assets right now that could be licensable. I'm just planting a seed here and now that start to adopt the mindset that everything you start to create as far as programs or audio libraries, etc., should have the desire that one day you're going to license it so that you're putting in the professional quality production now rather than, and I've heard this a bunch of times, people have questioned me, sent me emails like, hey, I have this audio library and I have 50 tracks that I've recorded at home. And they send me a sample and it's just not good enough. It's just they used, their phone or their laptop microphone. And literally, if they would have spent $300 and got a little bit of soundproofing in their little office space, they could have had 50 tracks that could have been licensable, all of which could go on a whole bunch of platforms and generate income, but they've been using their laptop microphone. And now those 50 tracks, sure, they could sell them on their website, but they could never sell them to any of these other platforms because the quality is just not there. And so if you're serious about licensing, now is the time to start organizing the spreadsheet, starting to book those dates in your calendar to do the writing, recording, editing, etc. And then slowly but surely reaching out to all the different apps that you research and following up with them when you don't hear back from them the first time. And I promise you, you will start to close deals. Those deals will start to build revenue for you. That revenue will slowly increase over time as people discover you inside of those apps. And the wonderful thing about licensing to most other apps is that it's nothing like social media. Their algorithm is genuinely trying to help people find the content that is going to serve them the most, that they like the most. It's not like social media where you got to pay to play and where the algorithm's completely rigged, not in your favor. It's a different game. So when you're licensing on a bunch of these apps, as soon as people start to discover you and comment and like and share, it's just like that will just make you rise to the top of those platforms. That's how I became number one on Mind Valley's app for many, many years in a row, which is what led to a bunch of other apps come to me. Like it's just the way it works, and I would highly encourage everybody who loves recording things, audio, if you're doing transformational work for folks, it's way more powerful to record guided audios than it is to have people watching your videos because it puts them inside of their own body, inside of their own consciousness, and you can guide them into places that they might not be able to access themselves. So, I highly recommend you get on it as a part of your roadmap, as a part of your weekly rhythms, even if it just means like you don't have time in your week to week, but you could book like a 3 day weekend once a quarter where you just write and record audio meditations and that you just do it once a quarter, and every quarter you get a handful, and then that just slowly builds over time. That's my rant today. I hope that's helpful. Any questions? Cynthia, I know you're on this track right now because you built your audio library this year. So what questions or thoughts come up for you?